Okay, let's take a look at section 2.2, formulas. So we're going to be looking at solving for a variable, something called literal equations, which literally have more letters than numbers. So they're literal equations or formulas. Finding the value of a variable, and then some geometric formulas. The first thing to think about when you are solving these equations, and I noticed on some of your tests, you were a little unsure of which operation comes next. So the first thing we want to think about when we're solving these equations is that we want to isolate the term or terms that contain the variable we're solving for. Everything other than the terms containing that variable should be on the other side of the equation. And then we're going to solve from there. Hopefully we'll have a few examples in here that you'll be able to see the next move you're supposed to make or the next operation. So in the first equation, you are asked to solve for f. So we have c is equal to 5/9 times f minus 32. There are actually a couple ways you could go about this. You could, if you wanted to, distribute that 5/9 to the f and to the negative 32, but I think that gets a little complicated, so I'm going to choose to multiply both sides by 9/5. So I'll have 9/5 c is equal to 9/5 times 5/9 f minus 32. So you can see here, when I cross multiply, I'm going to get 45 over 45, which is 1. So I can just cancel those out. Now I'm solving for c, so I have 9/5. c is equal to f minus 32. If I'm solving for f, at this point, I'm just going to add the 32 to both sides. So I will have 9/5 c plus 32 is equal to f. So now I've solved that temperature formula for Fahrenheit instead of Celsius. This one hopefully looks very familiar to you. You've solved for y many, many times over the last few years. So I have 3x minus 2y equals 6. Again, isolate the term being 2y, that has the variable you're solving for. So I have minus 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 6. And then we'll divide each term by 2. When I divide by 2, I have to divide every term by 2. I think some of you had forgotten that on the test and had actually just divided 2 out of one of the terms and not both. So be careful with that. So here you have y is equal to 3/2 x minus 3. Next, number 3 says, solve the following equation for p. So when you look at this equation, you'll notice that p isn't just in one of the terms, as the previous two. P is actually in 2 of those terms. So what you have to do is kind of the reverse distributive property, meaning you have to factor out the p. So this becomes a is equal to p times 1 plus RT. So you're actually going to factor that out. You're solving for p, so the operation between p now and this 1 plus RT is multiplication. So in order to solve that, you're going to divide by 1 plus RT. So p is equal to a divided by 1 plus RT. For this, it's actually an interest problem. Okay. Number 4, now we have an A. We're solving for A, and that's when it says solve for the following equation in terms of A. That means A is equal to something. Remember, A has to be 1A and has to be isolated by itself. This time I have two terms with A. They're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So the first thing I need to do is rectify that. So I have 3A. So this is a minus, so I'm going to add 5AB to both sides. And this is the horizontal method versus the vertical method that you have seen often. To me, this one makes just a little more sense. Then I have plus 7, and I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So what have I done here? I have subtracted 5AB, or added 5AB, sorry, to both sides. And then I have subtracted 7 from both sides. So now I have 3A plus 5AB is equal to B minus 7. At this point, you have two terms with an A. You want to factor out that A. So you have 3 plus 5B equals B minus 7. And then you're going to divide both sides by 3 plus 5B. So the answer to this becomes A is equal to B minus 7 over 3 plus 5B. Okay. Number 5 gets a little trickier because the variable we're solving for happens to be inside those parentheses. You can do this in one step, or you can take 2 steps. I think we're going to take 2 steps to look at this. If you see it in one step, that's fine. You can go ahead and do it that way. So for this, I'm solving for B1. So in order to isolate B1, I have to get all this other stuff that's attached to it away. The plus B2 times H divided by 2. So the first thing I will choose to do is multiply both sides by 2. Thereby eliminating that fraction on the right-hand side. This will give me 2A is equal to B1 plus B2 times H. Now at this point you can distribute the H into B1 and B2, or you can divide both sides by H. I'll divide both sides by H, and I will have 2A over H equals B1 plus B2. And then I can subtract B2 from both sides, so I have 2A over H minus B2 equals B1. Now if you want to put B2 over H and just have that single fraction, you could make that 2A minus B1H all over H equals B2. These two equals B1. Sorry, this was B2 and that's B1. These two are equivalent equations. Oops, I'm going to do that. Okay, when we look at the next part of the section, it's finding the value of a variable. And all we're going to do here is let x equal something and then find the value of y. So for example, when I let x equal 1 here, I have minus 2 times 1 plus 3y equals 9. So negative 2 plus 3y equals 9. And when I add the 2, I get 3y equals 11. So y is equal to 11 halves. Okay, I could easily check for another value of x. Let x equal 3. So minus 2 times 3 plus 3y equals 9. So minus 6 plus 3y equals 9. 3y equals 15. So y is equal to 5. So here, when x is equal to 3, y is equal to 5. Over here, when x is equal to 1, y is equal to 11 halves. 11 thirds. Not halves, that's a 3. For number 6, it's one of those word problems that says the simple interest on a loan of $50 is $50. The principal is $500 and the time is 2 years. What is the simple interest rate? So here's the formula that says the interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time that you will leave that money in an account. So the principal is $500. The interest is $50. You don't have the rate, and the time is 2 years. Okay, so that would be 50 is equal to 1,000 R. Solving for R, the interest rate, 0.05 or 5% for that problem. Geometric formulas. Let's take a look. It says the area of a trapezoid. A wildlife sanctuary is in the shape of a trapezoid. The area is 30K squared. The base is 10K. The height here is 5K. Find the length of the other base. I don't know how many of you remember the area of a trapezoid is equal to B1 plus B2 over 2 times H. So the area is 30K squared, and that's equal to B1 plus B2 is 10K, H is 5K, and that's all over 2. So to solve this, I will multiply both sides by 2 and get 60K squared, and that's equal then to 5K B1, and I'm using the distributive property this time, plus 50K squared. So I can subtract the 50K squared. I will get 10K squared is equal to 5K times B1. Divide both sides by 5K, and I will get that B1 is equal to 2K. Now, you could have, at this point, divided both sides by 5K, and I encourage you to look at it that way as well. Then you can decide which way you like best or which way suits you best. Last problem we're going to look at today is the volume of a rectangular solid. So all of our little geometry is going to come back. A rectangular solid looks like this. And it says, Millie has just completed pouring 14 cubic yards of concrete to construct a rectangular driveway. If the concrete is 4 inches thick, I made that a little thick, so that's 4 inches thick. The driveway is 18 feet wide. So let's say that this is 18 feet. Remember it's not going to be to scale. they want to know how long the driveway will be. So what I would do is think about converting that to either feet or inches, because we know the volume is equal to length times width times height. So 4 inches is equal to 1/3 of a foot, right? 1/3. Or, yes, Mondays. Whew. 1/3 of a foot. You want to think about it that way. And then, so for the volume, you would have the length you're looking for. The width is 18 feet, and the height is 1/3 of a foot. So what we have left then is to convert the 14 cubic yards into feet. So how many cubic feet is in 1 cubic yard? How many cubic feet would be in 1 cubic yard? That should be 27, right? 27 cubic feet equals 1 cubic yard. Okay, so think about this. On the bottom you have 1 cubic foot, 2, 3. So you have 9 of those, and then you have that 3 high. So that should give me, let's see, 27 times 14, 378. So my volume is 378 cubic yards is equal to the length times 18 times 1/3, which is actually 6. So 378 divided by 6 gives me the length of my driveway is 63 feet. 63 feet. You don't have to worry about doing the homework. We'll do that tomorrow in class, as well as go over some of the problems from the classwork that you did yesterday. I want to talk more about the algebra. Have a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.